Yes, what a day in racing at Flemington and also at Rose Hill. Keith Hillier is in Dubai this weekend. Lucky Keith. Lee Friedman joins us once again in a slightly different role because Lee came back as a coach, trainer yesterday. There's been a few sacked during the week and you made a comeback, Lee.
Well, yeah, it was a bit of a change for the week, wasn't it?
Max, you think we should sack him after Flying Spur? Though he didn't run in his name, I don't think. How are you, Max?
Very good, Bruce. No, I'd say Flying Spur. The best you could say about Flying Spur is he looks a bit fitter than Lee.
Lee, you've been doing a fair bit of training recently, haven't you?
I have.
I think it's a bit harsh on...
oh, well, you know...
building up muscle.
Tell us about the Craigley. I mean, our Maze K was brilliant. We'll get to him in the Ascot Vale, but your horse, Mahogany, finishing second behind Jern. They've had some great clashes. Jern does seem to have the wood on him at the moment. I think he's beaten him the last 3 times. Yeah,
I think, you know, that's fair to say. We took on a really good horse yesterday, but full credit to the boys. They got that horse as good as they possibly could for a race of this nature first up. I thought it was a terrific performance. I'd say in our favour, probably there's more improvement in our horse perhaps than there is in Jern. Jern looks very fit and forward. Our bloke still looks a little wintry, and I think he'll improve over the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, there's Mahogany in the Lloyd Williams colours with a little white blaze, sitting about 4th on the fence. Storm is behind him. That was a great run. Another horse you trained from a Melbourne Cup, Caulfield Cup point of view. Jern is second last in the blinkers at the moment. Baryshnikov caught wide. Gerald Ryan was very critical of Simon Marshall. He's the grey. He thought that he made his run too early. Now, this is the key. Hall gets through on Mahogany. He sits and waits, looks to the side. Baryshnikov's fully wound up. Storm's getting through with a gold cap, one off the fence. And now Jern with his mighty run out wide. And, Max, this is where it gets exciting, doesn't it, when you see thoroughbred stretched and really going for it?
Yes, the point was how the race unfolded that suited Jern. I'd say you could run it 4 or 5 times. You might get a different style of race. You might get a different winner. But it was Jern's day. Greg Hall just rode Mahogany too well, had to go too soon. It was a great ride. It probably deserved a better result. But as it worked out, it was Jern's day. I do think that Gerald Ryan may be a little bit severe on Simon Marshall. He had to do what he did. What else could he do? It was the circumstances of the race. I'm not in the business of making excuses for jockeys, but I do think it was circumstances more than bad tactics that beat Simon Marshall and Baryshnikov. I don't know whether Baryshnikov's quite as good as the other pair either.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, they're older. They've proved it. I mean, he's won, what, 1 Group 1, and
yeah.
Your fella's won 7, and I think Jern's now won, well, Jern's won 4.
Yeah, well, they're the last 2 horses of the year, so, I mean, he's taking on the absolute best.
Yeah, and he wasn't disgraced. Just before Wayne Harris, Storm looked a terrific run. Now, you've compared him with Paris Lane in the paper this morning. That's a big rap. Paris Lane won a Caulfield Cup in record time and won the McKinnon.
I don't know if I quite compared him with Paris Lane yet, but having said that...
Oh, that was Damien Oliver,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Damien was quite taken with the horse's run. I have to say that, you know, on yesterday's performance, given that they ran good time and 2 champion horses beat him home, he's in the Cups with 51 or something. You know, he's a very nice horse to be looking at.
You're starting to smile. Max, Wayne Harris was under pressure. We'll talk to him after the race and see what he had to say about Jern's performance.
As customary for him, he was a bit slow away, and I've got to ride him back in the field, and I was just hoping for a bit of luck through the race, and we got it. The plan was to try to get off the fence and follow Baryshnikov and hope he'd take me into the race, and it worked to plan for once.
400 out, do you think you get Mahogany?
I looked around, I saw the only horse who was travelling well enough to beat me was Mahogany, and Greg Hall looked to have a little bit up his sleeve, so I probably went to him a bit quicker than what I'd originally intended to, but knowing that Mahogany's got a good sprint on him, he's so awesome here at Flemington, I couldn't let him get away, and probably won me the race. If I'd let him get too far away, he might have outsprinted me.
Full credit to Peter Hayes, who's continued his great run, and also for his dialogue with Wayne Harris. There were all sorts of rumours Harris was under pressure holding the ride, but Hayes gave him the confidence before the race. Lloyd Williams, a very prominent owner, very prominent businessman, particularly in this city, owns Mahogany. He was thrilled with the run afterwards.
I thought it was fantastic. You know, a super run. You know, he hasn't raced for 6 months, and it was fantastic. It was a magnificent ride. The other horse is a great horse.
Are the plans to take it straight into the Cox Plate from here?
Yes, he is. He'll run straight into the Cox Plate from here.
What's the reason behind that?
Oh, I think he's a fresh horse, and you know, it's probably the way to train him. You know, you can see the way he raced today.
Anything after the Cox Plate?
No, that'll be probably it for him, I think.
Until the autumn?
Yep.
What would you do, Max? Straight into the Cox Plate, or if the trainer really wanted to have another run, who do you think will win, the owner or the trainer?
Oh, the owner being Lloyd Williams, I'd like to lay 6-4 on Lloyd. But if it was my horse, he'd be having another run.
Lee, you're the trainer. Will he have another run before the Cox Plate?
That may be some subject for discussion. But
you want him to, don't you?
Look, I want to have a look at him over the next week or two and get a feel for whether, you know, I would make a recommendation that he have another run. But, I mean, that's something that'll take probably 2 weeks for me to work out.
Fair enough. It'll be exciting if he goes into it without a run because it's something different. I know Let's Elope had a similar... She had that run around with Better Loosen Up, didn't she? And she had one other run.
Well, he's an this is the thing about this horse, you know, he creates a bit of excitement, and I think a preparation like that creates a lot of interest in the race, and it's good for racing.
Speak of excitement, Al Maysky did that yesterday. He's closest to us as they jump. He jumps well, he races well. Your horse, I thought, ran very well, Gold Ace.
Good run, yeah.
But Max, this is an outstanding horse, isn't he? I mean, you've seen him all the way through. We haven't as yet until yesterday.
Yeah, this is something special. It's the way he accelerates, he settles beautifully. I don't think there'll be any problems with the 1600 metres. I do concede that Gold Ace will improve, but I just wonder whether he can improve enough to get up alongside our Maysky. Now, note the way that he travels so kindly for Brian York. Strategic in the pink colours, it doesn't seem to be relishing the type, the business all that well. But there again, it's difficult to get a horse that goes as well as this. And when York lets him down, by gee, our Maysky now is showing his quality. This is a class act.
Makes Octagonal look pretty good too last week because, you know, he wasn't completely
he never looked as good as this bloke.
Oh, no, but I'm saying that the forms has held up so well. I mean, Gold Ace getting home second was strategic. You'll notice Principality, if you dare to look away from our Maysky, right now come into the screen. But, oh, he's a long way back. And I might be making it up. I do that sometimes. You get excited, don't you? Gee, I like our Maysky. So does Brian York, who rode him yesterday. Brad Smith out there asked him whether Frosty the Snowman was the perfect lead for him.
He did give us a good lead up. You know, he was first out of the gates and he's very fast early. He gets himself going very quickly, but Frosty the Snowman got going after 20 metres or so and finished up leading. But he gave us a nice card along, and you know, once he's got a horse out in front of him like that, he'll settle behind him, so it worked out perfectly.
And what's the plans, you think, for the horse now? They go to the Stand Fox and then back to the Guineas?
Well, they've got a few options. They haven't decided yet. They'll probably give him a 1400 metre race somewhere, possibly the Show Day Cup or something like that, and then the mile.
I think he's going to stay in Melbourne. And the thought was you go to the Stand Fox, but I think
he should go to the Stand Fox.
Yeah. It was interesting, Max. When the race, we were doing the interview, Lee was saying, do you think you'll run in the Show Day Cup? I think, what have you got in the Show Day Cup to beat him?
Oh, I'm going to run that mare Talander that ran yesterday. She's a good, honest mare, but I'm not really relishing the prospect of taking him on.
No, I think he might stay here. Dane win yesterday. Gee, this was a race.
What a
Max,
race.
He's
what
second
a race.
at the moment.
What a horse.
Max, I'll just set him up. Dane wins second, Flight to Fantasy's third, Aldo Mob's fourth, Ivory's Irish, who did win the biggest derby in Australia.
Yes.
The AJC, I knew you'd agree with that. He's second, third last for Bart. Go on, Maxie, give us a bit.
Well, this is incredible to see a staying horse like Dane when showing this type of speed, doing it tough, running the time, carrying the big weight. Now, on the outside is Flight to Fantasy with all the white, and she's an outstanding mare, one run short, a top run by her. But look at Dane when the way he's kicked, he's fighting on, a top-class flying field, Flight to Fantasy, and then down the outside, the extreme outside, Ivory's Irish. What a great batch of 4-year-olds we've got. One you can't really see in the picture was Turradoo. It was a handy run too because he blew the start, came out about 5 lengths behind them. So it was a good run. But what an outstanding group of 4-year-olds. I would say that Dane Wynn was the best run in Australia yesterday.
Wow. I reckon our
You laughing, Lee Friedman, are you? I got a giggle behind there.
Best run in Australia yesterday, Lee? I was going to say Al Maysky.
Yeah, I think our Maysky was an outstanding performance. He ran quicker time than the Flying.
I tell you what wasn't the best run in Australia yesterday. It was a 5-2 on favourite called Flying Spur in the Gloaming Stakes. Max, it was a funny old race. He's third at the moment. Maybe we should just... Do you think... Can I ask Lee for you, Max, or what do you want us to talk about?
Well, the point is he wasn't in the mood yesterday. He come out in the enclosure. He was toe. He had to be reshot, I believe, a couple of times. He's a head horse. He's going to test Lee Friedman, this bloke.
Well, Lee got a golden slipper out of him, and he's one of his last going into this, the Peter Pan. Classy fella, by the way. It was a good run. He won the Fernhill, which is normally a good guy. Tell us just quickly about Flying Spur.
Well, Flying Spur's always been a bit of a character of a horse. I mean, it's well documented. We had troubles with him as a 2-year-old, and He's a bit of a thinker from time to time. A lot of the Northern Dancer line horses have a bit of a trait about them where they can be a little bit hard to train, and this horse isn't any different to that. As Max said, we've got our work cut out, but I think you know, probably take the blinkers off, maybe try pacifiers and that, and realistically, I guess there's got to be some doubt whether the horse will actually stay. I think maybe we're looking at a 1,1600 metre horse.
I like classy fella, good run, and as I said, the Fernhill normally does measure up. Just briefly, do you now go to Sydney and put your eyes over Flying Spur for the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll go up and have a look at him.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, that's fair enough. Max, I want to move on to the Doncaster Cup on Thursday. Double Trigger, who's as short as 5 to 1 now for the Melbourne Cup. It looked just a magnificent win. He's won the big 3. He does go to France, which makes me a bit nervous for a race on September 30. You just hope nothing goes wrong now. But, gee, Dermot Welder said this is a very special horse. He's raved about him, the vintage crop male.
Yeah, Dermot does rave a little bit. I'd just like to ask Lee, what about the quality of the horses behind him, Lee? What's he beating? Are they picnic horses? Point-to-pointers?
I don't know much about them, Max. I've never heard of most of them, but all you can say is this horse is winning impressively over there. I don't know if I'd be taking him to Paris with all the business going on with the nuclear at the start at the moment, but he's going to have a 4,000 metre race in the Prix Cadran, and then he comes to Australia.
Look, we'll just finish with a quote of the week, no question about this, in the Sydney Morning Herald, Max's paper, John Hawkes, about jockeys. They ride a horse once through the week, some not at all, never been on its back. We're talking about whether they should get 10% or rather 5% of the stake. The owner spends an enormous amount of money paying to get it ready to win a race. The jockey, within 2 minutes, can slaughter it. We go on. The majority of them are prima donnas. Well, John should know, he was one once. For a start, few ride track work. They say none of the trainers have any loyalty, or none of the jockeys have. They've had it for too easy for too long. Did it cause a stir in Sydney, Max?
Oh, yes, John always causes a stir in Sydney, but I have suggested to the Ingham brothers that Darren Beedman gets the 10% for his ride on Encores yesterday, and it comes out of Johnny Hawkes'.
Lee, you're not nearly as outrageous as John. Gee, you think jockeys are all prima donnas?
No, I don't, but one thing I do believe, I thought it was a very enlightened statement made here during the week, you know, regarding the matter of the extra percentage for the jockeys, and that was, instead of the jockeys going for the extra percentage, why don't they help the owners and the trainers and the rest of the industry get more and more prize money, and therefore the pie's bigger, and you know, everybody gets more.
Fair enough. Going to catch you later? You coming back?
It's up to you.
Oh, next week for sure. Max, catch you next week, and we'll have Keith as well. Good on you. A break, Kate, after this.
Well, it's intimidating, but I mean, you just got to take it to her and try and limit her as much as you can.